Wednesday. Your two letters arrive together at noon. They aren't there to be read, but to be unfolded, to rest one's face on while losing one's mind. But now it turns out to be a good thing that it is partly lost, for then the rest will hold out as long as possible. And that is why my 38 Jewish years have this to say in face of your 24 Christian years. How's this, and where are the laws of the world and the entire police force of heaven? You're 38 years old, and probably more tired than mere age can possibly make you. Or more correctly, you aren't tired at all, just restless, just afraid of taking one step in this earth teeming with pitfalls, which is why you always keep both feet in the air at once. You aren't tired, just afraid of the terrible fatigue which will follow this terrible restlessness. And, after all, you're Jewish and know what it is to be fearful and anxious, which may at best be visualized as sitting in the garden of the insane asylum behind Karlsplatz, staring into space like an idiot. All right, so that's your position. You fought a few battles, making both friend and foe unhappy in the process. What's more, you only had friends, good, kind people, not a single enemy. This has already transformed you into an invalid, one of those who tremble at the sight of a toy pistol. And now suddenly you feel you're being called to join the great battle to save the world. Wouldn't that be very strange? Also consider the fact that perhaps the best time of your life, which you haven't really discussed with anyone yet, was those 8 months spent in a village about 2 years ago, when you felt that you had come to terms with everything, that you were free of everything, except what was unquestionably locked within yourself. Free of letters, the 5-year-old Berlin correspondence protected by your illness, requiring very little change, having merely to redraw the old, narrow outlines of your character a little more firmly. After all, underneath the grey hair, your face has hardly changed since you were 6 years old. Unfortunately, over the past 1.5 years, you have discovered that wasn't all. You could hardly have sunk any deeper. I'm excluding last autumn when I was respectably struggling for marriage. You could hardly have dragged another soul any further down along with you. A good, kind girl, self-effacing in her selflessness, so there was no exit anywhere, not even deeper down. So far, so good. And now Milena calls you with a voice that pierces your heart as strongly as it does your reason. Of course, Milena doesn't know you. She has been blinded by a few stories and letters. She is like the sea, as strong as the sea with its masses of water, crashing down with all their might. But nonetheless, by some mistake, following the whim of the dead and above all distant moon. She doesn't know you, and perhaps her wanting you to come is an augury of truth. You can be certain your actual presence will no longer blind her. Is this why you don't want to go, tender soul? Because that is exactly what you fear. But granted, you do have 100 other inner reasons for not going. You really do. And another external one besides, namely that you won't be able to speak to Milena's husband, or even see him, and you will be equally incapable of speaking to or seeing Milena if her husband isn't there. Granted all of that, there are still 2 arguments against. First, when you say you're coming, Milena may not even want you to come anymore, not at all out of fickleness, but merely exhaustion, which is understandable. She will be happy and relieved to let you travel as you want to. In the second place, just go to Vienna. Milena is only thinking about the moment when the door is opened. Of course, it will be opened. But what next? Then a lanky, emaciated man will be standing there, smiling amiably, which he will do incessantly. He inherited that from an old aunt, who also used to smile incessantly, but in both cases more out of embarrassment than by design. And who will then sit down where he is told to. With that, the ceremonies will be over, since he will scarcely speak. he lacks the strength to do so. My new tablemate here commented yesterday on the Silent Man's vegetarian board. I consider meat absolutely essential for mental labour. He won't even be happy, as he also lacks the strength for that. So you see, Milena, I'm speaking frankly. But you are intelligent. The whole time you've been noticing that I do indeed speak the truth. The full truth, unconditional and accurate to a hair. But that I do so too frankly. After all, I could have shown up without this announcement, and disenchanted you without any further ado. But the fact I did not is only further proof of my candour, my weakness. I'm staying another 14 days, mainly because I'm ashamed and afraid to go back with these results to show for my cure. At home and at work, which is especially annoying, they expect my leave to produce something approaching full recovery. Their interrogations are torture. How much weight have you put on this time? And I'm losing weight. Don't worry about spending money, directed at my stinginess. And I do pay my board, but cannot eat. Jokes like that. So much more to say, but the letter would never be sent. There is one more thing I did want to say. If toward the end of the 14 days you still want me to come as definitely as you did on Friday, then I'll come.